Bayern Munich with a nice 4-0 win over Leverkusen. I'm happy about the game. I'm not super happy, and you'll find out why in this video. Check out the player ratings if you've watched this video. They were also uploaded. I graded Bayern's players, but let's get into this match analysis. I'll do tactic analysis and general thoughts on the game. So my standout player was Musiala by far. You'll see what rating I gave him, but it was incredible. I gave Sadio Mane a very low rating, however, so check out those player ratings. My happiness, not that high, to be honest. We had 0.7 xG in the first half. We scored 3 goals. This shows an overperformance. This shows we didn't really create the chances to warrant such a seemingly fantastic lead at the halftime. Over the course of the game, we got actually about 2.4, but I expect a lot of that was accumulated from Muller's goal, which was basically an open net. So I'm not sure we created fully the chances. I'm not sure if it was just Leverkusen are really bad right now, because they have been on this bad run, and Bayern does favour open teams. I'm not sure this type of tactic that Nagelsmann was playing today, with Muller up front, I'm not sure it works against a defensive side. I'm not sure it works against a top side, which Leverkusen are one of the worst sides in the league right now. So it seems good. 4-0 win, I'm happy, but I'm also reserved. I'm also cautious. Quality of play, decent. There were some decent passages. I liked the return of interchanging to the front floor, but I'm still not sure where the goals are going to come from. Sane, Musiala, Mane, Muller, are the goals really going to be there? I'm not quite sure. Nagelsmann's rating, I'll give him a 7.5. I thought it was pretty decent. I thought the tactics worked. As I said, I'm not sure they work in later games. I thought the players played well, but the subs, I was not that happy, because why bring Sabitzer off? Nagelsmann, just bring Kimmich off, please, man. Kimmich needs a rest. He's been playing all the Nations League games. He's gonna run himself into the ground. I keep saying this, but it keeps being true. Just in this one, where we have Victoria Köln, where we have BVB after that. So we have these 2 games in the space of about, in the next week or so. Why not rest Kimmich? Kimmich's gonna be so tired. I don't understand. Just makes no sense. If the plan is not to rest Kimmich against Victoria Köln, what is the plan? I don't know. I'm so confused, but Sabitzer shouldn't have been subbed off. If Kimmich really is the starter, show that he is by benching him, by resting him when we're 3-0 up, 60 minutes into the game. Anyway, rant aside. Defensively, our formation was a 4-2-3-1, also offensively, but let's talk about the defensive stage of the game first. The ideas behind this was that Muller was up front, and he's our best presser. He's the one who conducts the orchestra, which is the Bayern Munich press, leads that press, and the press was effective. Leverkusen weren't able to play out. They had to resort to long balls. As a result of the Bayern press, we forced some high turnovers, so it worked out. Muller as a striker worked for the pressing. I mentioned this in my lineups video. I do lineups every week before the game, so check that out for later games. But Sabitzer does defend those counters in the deep positions so well. And you really saw that. That's why I've placed Sabitzer behind Kimmich in this defensive formation, because he really, when Kimmich was roaming forward, he was able to defend those counters, but he was also able to break down the play. He was really acting as like a number 6, like a proper defensive one, like a Kante or something, getting close to opponents, shrugging them off. And that shows the balance that we have with Sabitzer over Kimmich. That's why I prefer over Goretzka, sorry. That's why I prefer the Kimmich-Sabitzer partnership so much more than Kimmich-Goretzka. Kimmich-Goretzka lacks balance. Kimmich-Goretzka means that opponents can counter-attack us, but Sabitzer-Kimmich does not. And also, Sabitzer allows Kimmich to truly shine more, and that shows Kimmich's best offensive qualities. So that was the idea behind this, and I thought it really worked. But another thing I'd love to mention is Jamal Musiala. You see, I've played it, I said 4-2-3-1, but it was almost like a 4-3-3 at times. You see Sabitzer in that holding role, but Kimmich and Musiala were almost like 8s, and Musiala was really dropping deep at some stages of the defensive game, and he was really shoulder barging his opponents. He was really getting involved, getting gritty, getting tenacious in those defensive sides of the game. So I thought Musiala played very well defensively, dropping deep to to doing lots of defensive work. But now let's talk about the offense. So the offense was more of a 4-2-3-1 with Musiala as a clear cam, Sabitzer and Kimmich behind him. But you see a clear difference here. I've put Sabitzer in front of Kimmich now because in the offense, Kimmich dropped deep most times and acted as a deep line playmaker at the start of our moves, dropping in between the centre-backs, collecting the ball. But later on in this move, he did push up and get more involved offensively when we're higher up the pitch, which is why Sabitzer was well placed in that CDM role, in our defensive role in the game. But that's my thought process behind putting Kimmich lower than Sabitzer there, because that's where he was starting the moves off. Muller was the focal point for many of these long passes from the right back, from the left back, from the centre backs. Muller would drop from that striker position. He was really playing as a false nine, and it would allow for Muller to collect the ball from these and either turn or, more often than not, lay it off to Musiala, lay it off to Sane, lay it off to Mane, where the team could attack with pace. So Muller was actually really a focal point, and it did work because he was able to get in between Leverkusen's centre-back and defensive midfield in that pocket and collect the ball. Musiala, even though he was playing centre-mid, he was often wide right in the attacking stages of the game, and this was because Davies was a bit further forward than Pavard. He was a bit pushing up from Pavard, which meant that Sadio Mane was slightly inside. He was still wide on the left, but he was slightly inside for Davies to roam, which meant that Musiala shifted a bit over to the right. And Leroy Sane, of course, was providing that width on the right-hand side. But the tactic behind that was also that Leroy Sane cuts inside, which means that Musiala then goes to the wide areas at some points. And that's how the first goal was scored, of course. Musiala was on that wide. Sane had cut inside a bit. Musiala passes Sane, and it's a goal. So it did work to some extent. Sane was providing that width. I'm still not sure if Sane's best position is the right wing. I don't think it is. I think it's the left wing. Because Sane, we saw him lose a few balls in this way as the right winger. But in general, the offense worked pretty well. It was pretty good to see Musiala so involved. Musiala was in the centre, he was on the right, he was on the left. There was also constant interchanging between the attackers, and that was the hallmark of our first few games of the season, the ones where we won the 6-0, 6-1, whatever the scores were. But this returned, even though it wasn't quite the same formation. It did return because Muller, even though he was a striker, he was dropping deep, he was dropping left, right, and so were Sadio Mane and the other players. It was more fluid, it was harder to defend. So this was good tactically by Nagelsmann. I want to see more of this. I'm looking forward to Bayern's next games. If you haven't, check out the player ratings that I did for these ones. Come back to the channel for more Bayern lineups, match review, match analysis. Subscribe. Thank you very much. Goodbye.